My wife told me on our honeymoon, "My phone is just mine. You can't touch it at all." I just smiled and got up. A week later, she called me, begging. The hotel room had a sea view exactly as she had dreamed. We had been in Cancun for 3 days, our dream honeymoon. At least, that's what I believed. Sarah was organizing clothes on the bed, setting aside what I wore for dinner. I was lying down, admiring this woman for whom I had waited so long. Her phone started ringing insistently on the nightstand. It was a ringtone I didn't recognize, different from the usual one. Instinctively, I got up to pick up the device and hand it to her, as I always did at home. "Don't touch that," she screamed, running toward me with an expression I had never seen before. Her hands ripped the phone from mine with surprising force. "Sorry, honey, but my phone is just mine. You can't touch it at all." I stood there, processing those words. "Sarah, I was just going to give it to you. It doesn't matter." She interrupted, holding the device against her chest like a treasure. "It's a matter of privacy. Everyone has a right to their intimacy, right?" Her tone was defensive, almost aggressive. In 2 years of dating, she had never stopped me from using her phone. On the contrary, we always shared everything: her social media, her messages with friends, even our card passwords. "Okay, honey," I replied, trying to stay calm. "I didn't know it bothered you." "It's not that it bothers me," she said, softening her tone but still clutching the phone. "It's just, I don't know, it's my personal space. You understand, right?" I just smiled, a smile she interpreted as understanding, but which actually hid a mixture of confusion and suspicion beginning to grow in my chest. I got up from the bed slowly and walked to the balcony. The sea was calm, but inside I felt a storm forming. That disproportionate reaction, that desperation to protect the phone, something was wrong. Sarah continued arranging the clothes, but I noticed her hands were shaking slightly. I stayed there on the balcony for almost an hour, looking at the horizon and rethinking all the small signs I might have ignored. When I returned to the room, she was in the shower, and the phone was resting on the nightstand, protected by a password she had never used before. Our home had never felt so strange to me. We returned from Cancun on a rainy Tuesday, and Sarah hardly waited for me to park the car before running into the living room, claiming she needed to check some important things. I carried the suitcases alone while she was already glued to her phone screen. "Honey, I'm going to make coffee. Want some?" I asked, passing behind the sofa where she was sitting. "Mm-hmm," she murmured without looking up. I could see at a glance that she was typing frantically with a discreet smile on her lips, a smile that wasn't for me. During dinner, the phone stayed beside her plate, always screen side down. Each time a notification arrived, and there were many, her eyes brightened for a second before she controlled herself. "Work?" I asked, trying to sound casual. "It's some pending issues that came up while we were away," she replied, cutting her steak without looking at me. "You know how it is, right? 1 week away and the world falls apart." Lie. Sarah worked in a clothing store that closed at 6 p.m. What work issues would she have at 9 p.m.? On Thursday, I woke up to the sound of her whispering in the bathroom. I pretended to be asleep when she came back to bed. "Who are you talking to?" I asked, stretching as if I had just woken up. "My sister," she answered too quickly. She was having trouble sleeping and called me. Strange. Her sister lived in another time zone. It would be noon there. The outings started on Friday. "I'm meeting the girls at the mall," she said, already dressed up and perfumed. "I don't know what time I'll be back." "That's cool. Can I come along? It's been a while since I've seen Chloe and Jessica." "Oh no, it's kind of a girls-only talk, intimate things." She kissed my forehead quickly. "You stay here and relax. I'll be back soon." She returned at 2 a.m. with an excuse about traffic and a restaurant that took too long to serve. On Thursday, while she was showering, I decided to test something. I called Chloe. Hi, Chloe, how are you? Did Sarah get home okay yesterday? Silence on the other end. Sarah? She didn't go out with us yesterday. We haven't seen each other in weeks. My blood ran cold. Oh, right, it must have been something else then. Talk later. I hung up, trembling. I sat on the bed and started connecting the dots. The protected phone, the nightly whispers, the lies about where she was. When Sarah came out of the bathroom humming a song I didn't know, I realized I didn't know the woman I had married anymore. Monday morning, I called my lawyer under the pretext of company tax issues. During the conversation, I casually mentioned that I needed a recommendation for a delicate investigation job. I know someone very discreet, he said, lowering his voice. Robert Miller, an ex-detective, only works with serious cases. Do you want his contact? I wrote the number in an old planner that I hid in the office. That afternoon, I called from a public phone near work. I need to know the truth about my wife, I said directly to Robert. I suspect she's cheating on me. I understand. Do you have any initial evidence? I told him about the lies, the late nights, the strange behavior. He explained how it worked. Photos, detailed reports, proof of meetings. The price was high, but my marriage was worth more. One important thing, he warned, you need to act normally. Any change in behavior might alert her. In the following days, I became the perfect husband. I came home with flowers, complimented her dresses, suggested romantic plans. You're in such a good mood, Sarah commented on Wednesday when I prepared dinner. Did something special happen at work? Can't I just be happy to have a beautiful wife? I replied, kissing her neck. Inside, my stomach was churning. Of course you can, honey. It's just, I don't know, you were a bit strange lately. Strange how? More observant, asking more questions. She looked at me sideways. Everything is okay between us, right? Of course it is, I smiled, pouring the wine. Why wouldn't it be? Robert called me every day at lunch when I was alone in the office. She left today at 2:30 p.m., he reported on Thursday. She went straight to a motel on the south side, stayed there for 2 hours. It felt like a punch to the stomach. And him? A man, about 40 years old, graying hair, driving a black BMW. I'm still investigating his identity. Can you get photos? I already have some, but I need more evidence for a complete report. When Sarah came home that night, she lied, saying she had spent the afternoon at the beauty salon. You look beautiful, I lied, brushing her hair. It's worth every penny. She smiled in the mirror, not knowing that I knew exactly where she had been. Every touch I gave was now calculated, every kiss a performance. I was gathering strength for the moment when the whole truth would come to light. The envelope arrived on a Friday, delivered personally by Robert to my office. My hands shook as I opened it, knowing my life would change forever in the next few minutes. The first photo hit me like a gunshot. Sarah, leaving a hotel, smiling, holding hands with a man I knew very well. My blood ran cold when I recognized the face. It can't be, I whispered, picking up a magnifying glass to be sure. It was James, my partner of 5 years, the best man at my wedding, the man I considered a brother. In the next photos, they were kissing, entering motels, walking with their arms around each other like a couple in love. Robert had attached detailed reports. The affair started 2 years ago, 3 months before my wedding. They met regularly on Tuesdays and Thursdays, always at the same time, 2 hours before my wedding. While I was at the altar waiting for her, Sarah had already been betraying our relationship for months. There's more, Robert said, entering the room. I discovered suspicious financial movements. Your partner has been withdrawing significant amounts from the company account. He showed me bank statements. James was diverting money from our construction company to pay for hotels, expensive dinners, even a trip he had won in a company raffle. He is financing the affair with both your money, Robert explained. "I have receipts for expenses, luxury hotels, restaurants, even jewelry he bought for her." My phone rang. It was Sarah. "Hi, honey. I'm going to be late today. I have a meeting with a client." "Which client?" I asked, looking at the photos spread on the table. "A lady who wants a special dress for her daughter's wedding. It might take a while." Lie. According to the report, she was heading to the apartment James kept downtown. "All good, honey? See you at home." I hung up and collapsed into the chair. 5 years of partnership, 2 years of marriage, all based on lies. The man I trusted most was not only betraying me personally, but also stealing from our company. "What do you want to do?" Robert asked. I stood up slowly, putting the photos in a folder. The pain in my chest was turning into something different, colder and more calculated. "I want you to document everything, every meeting, every transfer, every lie," I replied with a voice I didn't recognize as mine. "They are going to pay for this, both of them." Vengeance had begun to take root at that moment. I spent the weekend locked in the office, orchestrating every detail of my revenge. It wouldn't just be an emotional exposure, it would be the complete and legal destruction of both. On Monday, I discreetly installed a recording system in my office. Robert had taught me where to position the equipment to capture everything without being detected. "James," I called my partner on Tuesday, "I need to talk to you about the last quarter's numbers." He walked in relaxed, not knowing every word would be recorded. "Company expenses have increased a lot." I started by showing fake spreadsheets. "Do you have any idea what it could be?" "Oh man, you know how it is. Inflation, more expensive suppliers." He avoided my gaze. "Nothing major. But look at these cash withdrawals. $15,000 last month. What did you need that much cash for?" I saw sweat form on his forehead. "It was several small things, materials, emergency payments." "Emergency payments?" I insisted. "Like what?" "Come on, David, stop interrogating me. I've been your partner for 5 years, not an employee." Perfect. He was nervous and defensive, exactly where I wanted him. On Thursday, I arranged copies of all financial documents and sent them to my accountant. I also hired a forensic investigator to trace every penny diverted. "Mr. Harrison," I called my lawyer, "I need you to prepare 2 lawsuits, one for embezzlement and another for a litigious divorce." "Are you sure about this, David? These are extreme measures." "I have all the necessary proof. I'll send everything via encrypted email." Meanwhile, I maintained the perfect facade at home. I took Sarah to dinner at an expensive restaurant, the same one where she had been with James the previous week. "What a beautiful place," she exclaimed, looking at the surroundings. "How did you find this restaurant?" "Searched online," I lied, observing if she showed any recognition. "First time I've been here." "For me too," she lied back, taking my hand. "Thank you for being so attentive, honey." That night, while she slept, I finalized my plan. I scheduled a meeting with our main investors for next week, claiming we had important news about the future of the company. I also discreetly invited both families, saying it would be a celebration of the 5-year partnership. Sarah was excited about the idea. "What a lovely surprise, David. Your family will be so proud." "It's going to be an unforgettable night," I replied, knowing exactly how true those words were. "I'm sure everyone will be surprised by the revelations I have to make." The day of the meeting arrived. The event hall was impeccable, with elegant tables and a screen prepared for my special presentation. The investors arrived punctually, followed by the families. Sarah was radiant, wearing the blue dress I had bought for her. "Are you nervous, honey?" she asked, adjusting my tie. "Your hands are cold." "It's the anxiety of sharing good news," I replied, kissing her forehead. Inside, my heart beat like a war drum. James arrived accompanied by his wife and children, greeting everyone with his usual fake smile. When he saw me, he opened his arms theatrically. "My partner, what an incredible event you've organized. So much pomp wasn't necessary." "Of course it was," I replied, shaking his hand firmly. 5 years of partnership deserve a special celebration." My mother approached proudly. "David, what a wonderful son I have. Your wife is a lucky woman." "The luck is mine, Mrs. Miller," Sarah said, hugging my mother. "He is an exceptional man." If she only knew how exceptional I was being at that moment. At 8 p.m. sharp, I asked for everyone's attention. The room went silent as I stepped onto the small improvised stage. "Good evening, family, friends, and business partners. Today marks 5 years of partnership with James and 2 years of marriage to Sarah. Therefore, I decided to share with you some important discoveries about our company and about trust." I saw James frown. Sarah smiled, still not understanding. "During these 5 years, our construction company grew a lot, but recently I discovered irregularities that forced me to take legal action." James's smile vanished completely. He tried to stand up, but I continued. "Before starting the presentation, I would like everyone to know that representatives from the federal police and the IRS are on their way. I also have here search and seizure warrants, in addition to judicial freezes already in effect." The silence in the room was deathly. Sarah looked at me without understanding. James was as pale as paper. Now let's get to the facts I discovered about my partner and my wife. I turned on the projector. The first image that appeared was bank statements showing James's diversions. I heard a collective murmur of surprise and indignation. The presentation hadn't even finished when chaos broke out. James tried to run, but 2 federal agents disguised among the guests intercepted him. Sarah fainted when the photos of her with James appeared on the screen. The hall became a battlefield of screams, crying, and confusion. A week later, I was in my new apartment. I had moved the day after the event when my phone rang. It was a number I knew by heart but had blocked. Morbid curiosity made me answer. "David?" Her voice was unrecognizable, choked with tears. "Please, listen to me for just a minute." I stayed silent, letting her speak. "I know you have no reason to listen to me. I know I ruined everything, but please," she sobbed between words, "don't do this to me. Don't destroy me like this." "Do what, Sarah?" I asked with a calmness that surprised me. "You know what. The lawsuits? The freezes? My account is empty. My card canceled. I can't even pay for a lawyer." "And James? Can't he help you from jail?" "Stop being cruel," she screamed. "I know I deserved it, but not like this, not in this calculated and cold way." "Calculated?" I laughed bitterly. "You betrayed our marriage for 2 years with my best friend, using money stolen from our company. And I'm the one who is calculated? I can explain everything. I can tell you how it started, why it happened." "I'm not interested." "David, please." Her voice broke completely. "I'll give up everything in the divorce. I'll leave with just the clothes on my back. Just don't sue me for moral damages. My family is destroyed. My mother can't even leave the house out of shame." "You should have thought of that before." "I'll do anything you want. I can serve you. I can work for you for the rest of my life. I can—" "Sarah," I interrupted, my voice cutting like a blade. "You said on our honeymoon that your phone was just yours, remember?" Silence. "Now your whole life is just yours, too, to deal with the consequences of your choices." "David, I love you. I've always loved you. What happened with James was a mistake, a weakness." I hung up. My phone rang 17 more times that night. I didn't answer any of them. I scheduled the meeting at the company office on a Thursday at 6 p.m. I had purposely chosen the place where our partnership began, where James had signed the first contracts, where Sarah had visited me hundreds of times, bringing lunch and fake smiles. I arrived first and organized all the evidence on the table: bank statements, photos, transcribed recordings, the detective's reports. Each document represented a discovered lie, a documented betrayal. Sarah arrived 10 minutes early, her eyes swollen from crying. She wore simple clothes, very different from the expensive dresses she used to wear. "David," she said, hesitating at the door, "thank you for agreeing to talk. Come in and sit down." She obeyed, looking nervously at the papers spread out. "Do you really have all of that?" Before I could answer, James appeared at the door. He was accompanied by 2 lawyers and looked like he had aged 10 years in a week. "David, my friend," he tried the usual conciliatory tone. "We can resolve this like civilized men." Civilized men? I stood up from my chair. Civilized men don't rob their partners, nor do they sleep with their wives. Look, I know I made mistakes. Mistakes. I grabbed the folder with the statements. $340,000 diverted in 2 years. That's not a mistake, James. It's a crime. Sarah tried to speak. "David, if you'll let us explain." "Explain what? How you laughed at me behind my back? How you planned to deceive me at my own wedding?" One of James's lawyers stepped forward. "Mr. David, my client is willing to reimburse the amounts." "And your client is going to jail," I cut him off. "And you," I pointed to Sarah, "you're going to lose everything you're entitled to in the divorce." "You can't destroy us like this," James exploded. "We're family. You were the godfather to my son, and I was the best man at your wedding." "That didn't stop you from destroying my life." Sarah started crying again. "Please, David, think about our history, everything we lived through together." "Our history?" I laughed with bitterness. "Our history started with you already betraying me. We didn't have a history, Sarah. We had a lie." "But I loved you. I still do." "If you loved me, you wouldn't have done your nails with the money he stole from me. If you loved me, you wouldn't have slept with him 3 days before our wedding." The silence that followed was only broken by the sound of her sobs. James looked at the floor, defeated. "That's it," I concluded, putting the documents away. "The federal police already have everything. The prosecutor's office has already filed the charges. You dug your own graves." 6 months later, I was in my new office when my lawyer called with the final news. "David, James was sentenced to 4 years in prison. The judge was categorical: embezzlement, qualified fraud, and money laundering." "And Sarah?" "The divorce went through. She got 25% of the assets, but had to pay $200,000 in moral damages. Since she couldn't pay, her assets were auctioned." I hung up and leaned back in my chair. Justice had been done, but the bitter taste still remained. That afternoon, I happened to meet Sarah's mother at the supermarket. Mrs. Celia, who had always treated me like a son, looked at me with red eyes from crying. "David," she said softly, I wanted to apologize to you." "Mrs. Celia, you aren't to blame for anything." "I am. I raised a daughter who did this to you." Her hands trembled holding the cart. "She is working as a salesperson in a department store. She earns minimum wage, shares a 1-bedroom apartment with 2 colleagues. I felt a tightness in my chest, but said nothing. "James's wife called me yesterday," she continued. "Their children are in therapy. They can't understand why their father is in prison." "Mrs. Celia, no, let me speak." She held my arm. "I know Sarah deserved it. I know she destroyed your life, but seeing my daughter destroyed like this hurts a mother's heart. She made her choices, she did, and you made yours too." She looked me in the eyes. "I just hope one day you can forgive, not for her, but for yourself." 2 weeks later, I received an unexpected call. It was Helen, James's wife. "David, I know I have no right to reach out, but I need to tell you something." "What is it, Helen?" "James tried to kill himself in prison. He's in the hospital now." Her voice was broken. He left a letter saying he can't carry the guilt of what he did to you anymore." I hung up without saying a word. The revenge was complete, but something inside me didn't feel the satisfaction I had imagined. It was as if I had won a war where all the soldiers died. 2 years have passed from that devastating night in the event hall. Today, as I sign contracts at my new company, now 3 times larger than the old one, I reflect on how life can change completely when you discover who the people around you really are. James is serving his sentence. I received a letter from him last month asking for forgiveness and saying he lost everything: family, dignity, freedom. Helen divorced him and moved to another city with the kids to start over away from the shame. He hasn't had visitors in 8 months. Sarah works at a call center on the graveyard shift. I heard this from a mutual acquaintance who saw her at the bus stop at 5 a.m., tired, wearing simple and cheap clothes. The girl who once spent $500 at a beauty salon now cuts her own hair. "Mr. David," my new assistant interrupts my thoughts, "Miss Beatrice has arrived for lunch." I smile truly for the first time in a long time. Beatrice entered my life a year ago when I hoped to find someone again. She is a psychologist, works with people in recovery, and taught me that it is possible to trust again without being naive. "How was your morning?" she asks, kissing my cheek. "Productive. We closed the contract with the construction firm from the capital. The company is growing faster than I imagined." "And how are you feeling? Not physically, emotionally." Only she asks that question. Sarah never asked how I felt. "At peace," I answer honestly. "For the first time in 3 years, I am genuinely at peace." "Did you hear that Sarah tried to look for you again?" "I did. My lawyer told me, but I have nothing to say to her." "Don't you even feel pity?" I think for a moment. I feel pity for the situation, but I don't regret my decisions. She had 2 choices on that honeymoon: be honest with me or deceive me. She chose to deceive me. Beatrice holds my hand. "You are a man of integrity, David. That's what attracted me to you." I look through the restaurant window and see the movement of the city. New life, prosperous company, healthy relationship. Revenge wasn't just destroying those who betrayed me, it was rebuilding my own life even better. When Sarah said the phone was just hers, she didn't know she was declaring war against the wrong man. And so ends this story of betrayal, revenge, and restart. A lesson that our choices always have consequences, and that sometimes the best revenge is simply moving forward and building a better life.